First of all, let's bow our heads to another amazingly beautiful, circulating, abundant, amazingly happy, beautiful, protected month. We are going to have an amazing month, and everything is going to be a nice and fun and nice and entertaining, and we're going to have a great, great time. We're going to keep going up. We're going to keep exploring. We're going to keep adventuring. We are going to just enjoy being on this planet, and let's just get straight into it. Y'all know how I feel about intros. Let's get into my spray. Yeah, you know I got to do that because you know what type of video you clicked on, so let's just get into it. Protection, love, abundance, peace, good health. Good health. There we go.
I used to live in a haunted house, and a lot of people don't believe me when I say that, but my mom and dad bought a house back in 1968. It was built in 1966 in New Jersey, and they were like the first owners of the house. So the neighborhood itself was supposedly built on top of a burial ground, or an Indian burial ground, and they said a lot of activity was happening throughout the neighborhood.
Damn minute, did you just say a burial ground? Have y'all ever seen The Haunting in Amityville, something like that? Yeah, we already see where this is going. Yeah.
Built on top of a burial ground, or an Indian burial ground, and they said a lot of activity was happening throughout the neighborhood, and a lot of the houses, when they used to talk to their neighbors, they shared a lot of the same stories. So my mom and dad also experienced a lot of things like mimics and poltergeists and things to that extent in this home, but they didn't want to move because it was a brand new home. My mom stopped sleeping in the bedroom with my dad for as long as I remember, and the reason why is because she didn't feel safe in that room. She didn't feel safe on that part of the house. So when I was brought into the picture, I have, I have 6 other siblings. I remember one night that I was in my mom and dad's room. I don't know why I was in there. My mom had just got home from work. She was OCD, so she was mopping. My dad was at work, and I was in their room for whatever reason. I was just playing with their stereo system. Behind the stereo system, there was a wall mirror, and I just remember playing at the stereo system, looking up, and my mom was standing behind me. I could see her in the mirror, but my mom wasn't wearing anything. And when I mean she wasn't wearing anything, I mean she was completely not wearing anything. So I turn around thinking this is weird as shit, and I look, and my mom's not there. She's not behind me. So I turn back around to look in the mirror, and she's still standing there. So I run as fast as I can out the room, hit my knee on our couch, start crying. My mom's like, "Don't go in there." That's why I don't go in there. The only person that slept in my room, in that room, was my dad. Nothing bothered him. There was another, night where our power went out for whatever reason. I think it was a bad storm. And my mom was telling us some stories that, trying to keep us busy, occupied. And we heard a crashing sound. It sounded like our ceiling fan in the kitchen had fallen out of the ceiling onto the floor. Glass went everywhere. So my dad comes out of his room that he was in. He's like, "Oh my God, like I got to clean this up." And my mom's like, "Yeah, well, watch your feet, don't walk in there with no shoes on. There's glass on the floor." So he goes to bend the corner to go look. He goes back in his room and he doesn't say anything. He closes the door. And my mom's like, "Are you going to clean up the glass? Are you going to clean it up?" And he's like, I'm not finna go in there." So my mom's like, "Why aren't you going in there?" So she gets up, she goes and looks in the kitchen, and there's nothing on the floor. Nothing at all. We used to hear books slamming in the upstairs room. We all slept, like me, my mom, my brothers, all of us slept in the living room because we were so afraid of that house. My mom didn't want to move. My dad didn't want to move. They bought the house. They were trying to sell it. We used to hear books slamming, just like all throughout the night. You would hear, like, it sounded like someone was taking a textbook and just slamming it on the floor as hard as they could. Some nights we would hear in the kitchen, like someone was clanking pots and pans, spoons and forks. And my mom would say, "Don't look in the kitchen, just ignore it and go to bed, ignore it and go to bed." And she would say something to the extent of, God will protect us, and, whatever's, I forgot what the sayings go, but she would say it, and it'll eventually stop. But, I don't play about that stuff. I have a lot of stories. And this went on for as long as I can remember in that house. I remember when we moved, I felt so at peace. It was still a little bit of a traumatic experience to try to sleep in a new home we moved into, because we moved from Jersey to Georgia. But I'll never forget that. I'll never forget it. I used to live.
So apparently, part two, people want to know more of what it's like to live on a top of a native burial ground, and she has another story. So let's just, yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna say this, and this is gonna be it. But happy Halloween! It's Halloween, so I guess I'll tell this story. So one time we all wake up and there's maggots all over the floor in the living room, all over the floor in the kitchen.
Maggots, maggots. That didn't tell you to get out of there. It didn't tell you to get out of there. You didn't get out of there. Be real. Be real with that. Be real with yourself. Why your father? Why what? Mm-mm. That's them. That's them. That's what they do. That's what they accepted, Kaya. You just gotta keep rolling with it. Keep rolling with it.
The kitchen, all over the floor. In the laundry room, we had a huge laundry room. And I'm talking about, it was like 2 rooms long. It curved. Like the laundry room curved. Like you had to go around the corner to see the back of the laundry room. My dad never changed the light bulb back there, but we had like two, so it was always dark back there. We had 2 chest freezers full of meat. And my mom assumed that because the maggots were on the floor, that one of the chest freezers must have went down. So she was screaming at the top. My mom hated worms. Anything that looked like a worm, get it away from her. So she starts spazzing out, whatever. My dad's at work and she calls him and she tells us, do not, come in the kitchen, wear shoes. There's maggots in the house. As a matter of fact, just go play outside. So we go play outside, whatever. My dad comes home. He pulls into the driveway. He's like, what the hell, how? And my mom's like, I don't know, because the deep freezer or the chest freezer wasn't, it wasn't, there was no indication that the freezer had went off or anything went down, because everything was, still froze the day before. So long story short, my dad, he goes, he scopes the scene. And he's like, yeah, there's maggots all in the laundry room. They're all in the laundry room. They're all in the garage. They're all in the kitchen. He was like, it has to be the freezer. It has to be the freezer. So he finally goes to the freezer and looks, and all the meat is still froze. Meat still froze. Nothing rotted. It didn't even smell like anything rotted. There wasn't any dead animals. We had a lot of, raccoons in the area, but there wasn't anything that could have indicated anything had died for maggots just to pop up out of nowhere. So my dad was like, all right, we'll all go. We'll get something to clean up with, whatever. My mom didn't want to leave us in the house, so we go to get some cleaning stuff. You know how we used to do back in the day. We all sat in the car. We waited for my parents forever. We come back to the house, and guess what's not there? Anybody want to guess? Yeah, they were gone. It's like it never happened. It's like it never happened. They disappeared. They disappeared. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I still don't know, because we walked around. There was residue. They were clearly there. They were clearly manifested into the floor and everything. But when we got back, they were gone. My mom and dad. My mom didn't believe it. She checked everywhere. She was like, "There's no fucking way possible." My dad was like, when my dad experienced things like that, he never commented on it. He acted like it didn't ever happen.
The Lulu is the Salulu. If y'all not moving out, y'all just gonna have to make y'allself acquainted. Y'all need to know about the announcements of the spirits that dwell in that land. You sharing it. Yeah, this is both of their homes, and it's already been disrespected at this point. At least y'all can do is just try to appease or try to talk to them or let them know, like, hey, we ain't know what was going on. We just moved in, we ain't trying to mess up your home or nothing like that. Like, you could just talk, like, do something.
Babe? Are you upstairs?
You need to pay some rent. Cause you're not gonna just be standing in my window with trying to pretend to be somebody in my house. You need to pay some rent. Pronto. Rent. Do. So on TikTok, there is a theory about Hurricane Milton, and they were saying, you see the picture and how it look. It is said that the people dug up a native burial ground in Tampa that was blessed by the Tocobaga to protect Tampa areas from being to protect the area from disaster. This one I'm talking about.
Story you saw only on Spectrum Bay News 9, the state archaeologist confirms a human bone was uncovered at an Indian mound in St. Pete.
And now the homeowner who was having that mound removed says he's reversing course and will be putting all the excavated material back. Spectrum Bay News 9's Josh Rojas is in St. Petersburg with more on this developing story.
All work on this Indian mound stopped last month when human remains were discovered, and that remains the case today with no further excavation planned. The homeowner says he recognizes the importance of preserving and respecting the site. Karen Sarin has an Indian mound in front of her home that extends down the street.
This is a very big Indian mound that goes all the way from here all the way to the end of this block. So 4 houses of Indian mound.
Karen loves the Indian mound. That's why she was upset when a new neighbor began removing his portion of it back in June to build a driveway. It exposed layers of shell left over from seafood the Native Americans ate.
Well, this one, you can see that they broke into it and they would just take the conch out.
The dig also exposed indigenous human remains. Through a spokesperson, the state archaeologist confirms human bone was uncovered and it's archaeological. That means 75 years or older. The state archaeologist says plans are being revised not to disturb the site further.
Y'all know better. Y'all know better. We going down a deep dive on sacred lands that are not to be disturbed. Like I'm here for it. Y'all remember the movie Leave the World Behind, and I did a reaction video to it? Well, they found the QR code in the movie. Watch.
Have y'all seen all the hype going around about this Leave the World Behind movie? It's all over my For You page. Everybody and their mom is talking about it. Because apparently the Obamas were executive producers of this movie. And a lot of people have found really weird Easter eggs, including a QR code that is hidden in the map. This QR code. And if you scan this sneaky little hidden QR code, it will take you to this website, visitmercercounty.com, and it opens up this page about the Lake Shawnee abandoned amusement park. So what in the world could that mean? Well, I don't know. But this sounds like a place right up my alley. So let's head on over to West Virginia and see what we can find out about this Lake Shawnee abandoned amusement park. So it turns out that the land where this abandoned amusement park was built has a very long and bloody history. Back in 1775, the Clay family had settled here. One afternoon in August of 1783, Mitchell Clay went hunting, and he had 2 of his sons, Bartley and Ezekiel, building a fence. And his oldest daughter, Tabitha, was down by the river washing the family clothes with some of the smaller girls. I think there were like 13 kids in this family. Well, as the children were going about their chores, a band of 11 Shawnee men crept up on them. They shot Bartley, killing him instantly. Hearing the shot, his sister Tabitha came running. She ran towards Bartley as all the smaller girls ran into the cabin where their mother was. And apparently Tabitha was a very brave girl because she started wrestling with one, trying to defend her fallen brother Bartley. It's said that she was cut to pieces before she was killed, and both Bartley and Tabitha were scalped. The 16-year-old Ezekiel was captured and taken prisoner. The mother, Phoebe, had gathered up all the smaller children and run for the closest neighbor, which was 6 miles away. 6 miles on foot with a bunch of kids in tow. It took them a minute to get there. During this time, Mitchell Clay returned. He found the bodies of his 2 butchered children and the rest of the family gone, and he assumed they had all been killed. He raced into town, gathered a group of men to pursue them. A battle ensued when he caught up with them, but some of the Shawnee warriors were able to get away with Ezekiel still in tow. He was taken to a settlement in Ohio where he was burned at the stake. Eventually, his body was retrieved. Some sources say that all 3 of the Mitchell children were buried on the property. Others say it's just Bartley and Tabitha. The place where their homestead sat remained empty until 1923, when it was
I need to read that because I can't read and listen to why she's talking. Here Mitchell Clay settled in 1775. 8 years later, Indians killed 2 of his children and captured his son, Ezekiel. Pursuers of several Indians, several of the Indians, blank, the boy was taken and burned at the stake. Oh my. Because it is our family's month, when I tell y'all I'm covering our native people, it was war. Like war. Because people are not just naturally doing stuff like that for no reason. Oh, just because they're savage and they have hatred. No. There was some deeper emotions and deeper traumas that was underneath that they will not reveal, and they will make them colonizers look innocent, just like they did with the ones they enslaved. Every time that we rebelled, they always put it in the news that we were just these angry, savage people, and they were the ones who were being terrorized, and this place needed to be colonized.
Businessman who decided to build an amusement park. The park opened in 1926. It had a Ferris wheel and a swing, the lake to swim in, it had a swimming pool, concession stands, and a dance hall and cabins to stay overnight. And it was a hit. It was very popular with the people of Mercer County. Until the 1950s, when children began to die there. It said there were at least 6 deaths while it was open. The first was an 11-year-old boy who drowned in the pool when his arm got stuck in a drain pipe. Then a little girl, roughly the ages of 10 to 12, was killed on the swings when a delivery driver backed up into her. Another boy drowned in the lake, and a 3-year-old girl was crushed by a lift. That's 4 of them. I don't know the circumstances of the other 2. The park was eventually closed in 1966 due to a failed inspection. And it sat abandoned for 20 years until another businessman came along in 1985 and wanted to reopen the amusement park. But it wasn't open very long before it closed again in 1988 because of rising insurance costs. Then in the 90s, he started digging around because he was going to build something else. Some say a neighborhood, some say some kind of racetrack. It was discovered that the park sat on top of an ancient burial ground. An excavation was done by a team from Marshall University, who found many artifacts of the Shawnee people, along with mass graves that held up to 3,000 burials. That's a big burial ground. They also discovered that at one point, the park had been a settlement. It had been set up in some kind of circular pattern and had been occupied for quite a long time before it was abandoned. There's no clues as to why everyone left. It's believed that it was empty for several hundred years before settlers arrived. Well, once this was discovered, the owner decided that he should just let the remains rest, and all construction plans were canceled, which was smart. Some people believe that the land is cursed. Others believe it was the Clay family who brought on a curse by desecrating the burial ground. But either way, this place is considered very haunted and very paranormally active. And it's been featured on several TV shows and documentaries. It's been called one of the most terrifying places in America and one of the 10 most haunted places in the world. Many people have seen the spirit of a little girl sitting on the swing. Shadowy silhouettes have been seen in the cars of the Ferris wheel, and the spirits will actually touch people, like tap them on the shoulder. There's disembodied voices and the ghostly laughter of children. Other people have reported hearing the sounds of drums and distant chanting. And I can't lie, there's something about this place that gives me these super creeps. I kind of freaked out a little when I first pulled this place up and was looking at it, because I'm pretty sure I've dreamed of this place before, which is super creepy. I have no idea what that means. But anyways, this is private property, but tours are offered. And in October, they host a dark carnival in the park. While this is all very creepy and interesting, I still have no idea what any of that has to do with this. I watched it and I have no clue what the connection could be. Please tell me what y'all think. Why?
The disrespect is still happening. I'm just trying to figure it out. What is wrong with people? Can we just be real? Can we just be real up in here? Can we just be real? And that's exactly why they were built on top of ancient burial grounds, because it was war. It was like the whole point of it was to disrespect and disregard the energy. It goes deep. Let me show you another example of what I'm talking about, how they disrespect because of the war. They spent 313 years fighting our family.
This is Marietta National Cemetery, found in Cobb County in Marietta, Georgia. Cobb County once contained numerous Indian mounds and Native American cemeteries. If you saw this national cemetery in person, you would know that this cemetery was built on numerous Indian mounds. All over America, they bury soldiers on top of Indian mounds. I don't know why, but they do it. This is another case of that scenario. Going uphill, this Indian mound is around 40 to 50 feet high from the base. In the center or top of the Indian mound, there's always a structure letting you know this is the top of the Indian mound. And this is it, right here in the center, made of pure marble. You gotta know what you're looking at. This is a plaque about the Civil War, which really doesn't even matter because the Civil War is way after you guys buried soldiers on indigenous land. This is the marble structure at the top of this large Indian mound with soldiers buried all over it. This land was once occupied by the Hitchiti Creek Indian tribe. This is the chief of the Hitchiti Creek Indians. We know the truth now.
Our family was very connected to ancestors. Our ancestry, it's like it there's a certain power and strength that comes from us acknowledging and being connected to that strength of living a life and continuing on the journey and the bloodline. That strength to have that connection gives the protection and the whatever they need to be able to have success and protection and good crops, and just all of that plays a part in the connection of why our family took care of their ancestors. Just like they wanted to change our ability to connect to our original names, our original powers, our original way of life that we believed in, that in itself cutting off our connection to who we truly are. And cutting off that connection creates a new way to take over somebody energetically and take over the land. Because if you're, think about it, if you already have your ancestry and this is a sacred land and this is where you take care of the people who lived beforehand and their life essence is here, and that love and that connection provides strength and power and love and whatever we need moving forward down the bloodline, and you disrespect that and you cut that connection off and you put the colonizers' bodies on top of them, that's cutting off the ability to connect to your ancestors, to connect to your power, to connect to the protection, the safety, the powers and the strength that our ancestors give us. They did it through documents, but they also had to spiritually disalign our family. They had to take that spiritual power away. It's not just them changing the last name, them doing everything that they did to erase the existence of who we truly are, who our family is. It was about cutting that connection off to the power and the ancestral lineage that we had over the land. And what better way to block that than to put the colonizers' bodies on top of the ancestral power? That's why they're so disrespectful with it. To this day, they still have buildings over our family. Somebody in the comments said Cobb County is sitting on nothing but indigenous land. And this is just more proof of being prisoners of war. And what better way than to have the people who are prisoners of war continue being prisoners of war if they don't know that they are. If they feel like they're comfortable and they feel like they're safe. And you don't know your connection to your birthright to this land. So I'm going to stop right here. I am going to do a part 2 to this, but I do want to upload today as soon as possible. So I'm going to upload and then y'all are going to see the part 2 pretty soon. I just wanted to cover this because of the month that we're in. And I also just wanted y'all to know, like, you know, this is partially the reason why there's so many ghosts and so much energy over America, because of the stuff that they have buried over. But you know, the truth will come to the light. I love y'all. Thank y'all so much for watching this video with me, and I hope y'all have a good rest of y'all day, and I'll see you on the next video.